It's Patrick at Pals. Well, we're here this morning with the 69 Coronet. It's an RT 440, and look at there, we got dual quads. Now this car came in and it didn't run, right, Ron? One day it just quit.
It quit on Saturday. I fired it up. I ran for a few minutes. I figured, why I'm going to back it out and I'm going to clean it up a little bit. It quit. And then when I tried to crank it again, it just turn. Nothing.
Now, Jim, tell us the procedure you went through and what you found.
Well, when I came here, of course, when they brought it here, they said it wasn't running, and it was, in fact, had no fire. So my first thing was, I've got a tester that I go in line, it goes over a spark plug and watches for spark. And I had someone get in the vehicle and they cranked on it, and I watched it like spark once, a weak spark, and then nothing afterwards. So I'm like, well, what's going on here? We tried it again. So normally the coil, if it was a coil, it'd either have spark or it wouldn't. So I just started checking the simple things. I pulled the distributor cap off of it and saw that the rotor button and the cap was burnt out in it. So I replaced that, went back together, and still the same condition.
So the next thing you looked at was...
I looked at the ignition module because that's the only thing that made sense, because I wouldn't think of the coil, because the coil would spark once.
Now, folks, take a close look at this. You got the module here. You got one resistor right here. Now, that's pretty normal with any 60s muscle car. They're going to have a resistor right there, okay? But this car also has a resistor down here. Explain that, Jim. Why is there two resistors?
This vehicle originally came with points.
Okay.
So somebody changed it over to a newer Chrysler-style electronic ignition. When doing so, if you're running, they want you to run they usually got what they call a dual resistor. But they've run and still have the single resistor there, so they added one down here. So this resistor actually works to go to the power to that. Your ignition module.
So you're telling me that this is an electronic ignition. It's not points. This car originally would have had a dual point system or a single point system, right?
Yeah, the RT, it might have had dual points.
And then Chrysler brought out an early electronic ignition. They were the first ones to do it. And that electronic ignition required the box up here, right?
Yeah.
And what does that do? Does that control the spark? What does it do?
What that does is that sends a signal to, there's a pickup in here, a magnetic pickup in that takes the place of the points.
Okay.
And as the rotor spins in there, it picks it up, and it somehow changes it picks up. What am I trying to say?
Electricity.
Yeah, but it catches a signal, and it changes the signal to a ground signal that sends a signal to the coil for the spark on each cylinder.
I see. Okay, so what the car was doing is, you got the cap on it, you could get it to start and run, but then it fried that resistor, the white resistor up there, right?
Once I figured out the module wasn't bad, I started checking things again, and I found this resistor that was feeding the coil was burnt up.
Okay.
Well, this coil's internally resisted, so I didn't figure it'd matter, so I swapped that. Just for testing, I took the two wires and bypassed that resistor, and the car fired right up. And the car was parked outside, so I was going to pull the car inside to work on it further, and the car only ran for about a minute and a half, and it shut off, and then I had the same occurrence again.
Okay.
So I went and checked the other resistor. What happened is that something burnt out that resistor. So I knew there was something shorted to ground, or some kind of short in the system that was causing to burn the resistors out. Because what they do is it's a coiled up wire, and they heat up.
Okay.
They're supposed to keep any electrical surge from running into the ignition system.
So then the next step was to get a schematic and start testing wires, right?
Yeah, because this thing had been altered, I got a schematic and started looking and checking the wiring just to see where all these wires were going. And I had this one odd wire that I didn't know where it was going. It was running up into the car, which I thought was strange.
And Ron, this is where you come in. You had just changed out your bucket seats, right?
Yeah.
You had gotten them recovered. And Jim, what did you find with that wire that was going through the firewall?
Well, you probably can't really see it, but it was down here. There's wires coming in from the firewall here, right through up here. And there's this one wire, which I've got tucked up under the dash now, that was just laying under the carpet about 1.5 feet down here, and it had a bare end on it, and it was just, and that was straight power, and it was going right underneath the carpet.
And that was shorting it
And
out.
was shorting it out on the floor pan.
So folks, think about this. Ron, how long ago did you buy this car?
November.
So you bought it in November, had no clue that anything was wrong,
Right.
drove it, and then all of a sudden it quit. And we started with an ignition problem, and we ended with a wiring problem that somebody had haphazardly put in there. You know, folks, you never know what you'll find
That's true.
when you're looking at a car. Well, Ron, we love this car, and man, just enjoy it. It's going to run great now. See you soon.